If you've ever clicked a get a quote now button online, you are already quoting your auto insurance wrong. I'm Jacob Johnson, host of the Financial Ginger podcast and a local Utah insurance agent. And I'm here to tell you the way an auto insurance agent shops for auto insurance. So, I quote 25 carriers every day. And this is what I would do to quote my auto insurance the best way possible to get the best rates and coverage. So first, before I step into that, when was the last time you shopped your auto insurance or reviewed your coverages? Let me know in the comments below how long it's been since you've reviewed your coverages. I just find it interesting to know, right? Some people review their coverages every year. Some people review them every 5 years. Some people don't review them unless their rate goes up and they're like, oh, I'm going to shop because my rate went up. So when's the last time you reviewed your auto insurance? Let me know in the comments. First, before I start quoting and trying to find rates, I get my information together. So generally, when you're going to call insurance agents looking for quotes, you need a few details. You need the name, date of birth, and driver's license number for each person in your household that drives. You need your address. And if you've moved in the last year, you'll want your previous address as well. This is really important because insurance companies use something called an insurance history report or CLUE. You're going to hate hearing this. It's sort of like a credit report, but it's different. It's tied just to your insurance, but some data that goes into your credit report will pull up on your insurance history report too. So know that's important. Getting an accurate hit on that can improve your rates. In fact, 9 times out of 10, it will make your insurance rates better. So previous address is important. A copy of your current coverages, just get a declarations page. That's what they're called. Declarations page or your renewal package will have all your coverages on it. And if it's not on that deck page, the VIN number for each of your cars. So that's the 4 things: name, date of birth, driver's license number, current address, and your most recent address if you moved in the last year, a copy of your current coverages, which you can get a declaration page by just calling your agent, or if you have an online portal, going online, download either a declaration page or a most recent renewal document. That'll have all that on there. Most people don't know how to find the right person for doing insurance, which is why I said if you click get a quote online, you've already messed up, because doing that, you put in your name, your phone number, your email. It's always a marketing company. Real insurance agents don't have a get a quote now button. They might have a form you can submit where you're going to send them this information, or call us now at this number, or send us an email, but it's never going to be get a quote by clicking a button. You do that, you're selling your information to a marketing company. They're going to sell it to 60, 70, 80, 100 insurance agents. You're going to get absolutely blasted by insurance agents for the next 6 months trying to sell you insurance, which is mostly just going to annoy you, right? Mostly just going to piss you off getting 100 phone calls from 100 different people for 6 months when you're just trying to get insurance quotes. So here's the right way to find someone to do insurance for you. Here's what you do. First, Google. I know, it's crazy. I Google my local insurance agents. I want someone that's near me that understands the climate you're in, right? Like if you're in Idaho, you don't want to call an agent that's in Utah. You want to call someone that's in Idaho. So I usually start with Google. Google local insurance agents, right? Obviously, you're going to get a bunch of ads at the top. I mean, if you want, maybe use ChatGPT to help you. It's like, hey, who are the closest insurance brokers near you? And that's probably a better word. Look for insurance brokers, not insurance agents. I mean, agents are usually brokers. Well, brokers are agents, but not all agents are brokers. Brokers write for 10, 15, 20, 30 companies. So like if you call me for insurance in Utah, I can quote you with 25 plus companies with you making one phone call, right? You don't have to go do it all yourself. So I usually recommend calling 2 or 3 different insurance brokers that you find off Google. Find ones that are close to where you live. Right? If they're local, they're going to know the little tips and tricks that are going to get you lower rates. They're going to know different weird things that happen. Like example, earthquake insurance in California. Utah for home insurance doesn't require earthquake. So a local agent might help you find coverages that are needed and aren't needed for your care, or at least talk you through it so you can make an educated decision. So I usually recommend calling 2 or 3 different brokers. I even tell people who call me to do this, I'm like, go get quotes from other people too. Right? What if there's a 26 company that I don't write for, that the other person that also writes for 20 companies, right? There's going to be some overlap. We probably both write for Progressive. We probably both write for Travelers. But what if he writes for Mutual of Omanclaw, which is a company I like, but I don't write for? What if I write for Geico and they don't write for Geico? Yeah, Geico's technically captive, but I write for Geico. Geico reached out to me and I write for Geico in Utah. So call 2 or 3 different brokers. They each have different tips and tricks and ways that they might be able to get quotes that might get you better or cheaper coverage, right? Better might be more coverage, cheaper, obviously a lower price. So call 2 or 3 brokers. And then I usually say, hey, call a couple of agents. An agent writes for only one company. So State Farm, Allstate, Farmers, Farm Bureau, right? Those companies, they have captive agents that only write for one company. So you're going to want to look up and talk to 2 or 3 insurance brokers who write for a bunch of companies, but those captive companies don't write with brokers. So you're not going to get a quote from Allstate if you talk to me. I mean, I write for a company that Allstate owns called National General, but that's a different issue, right? If you want a quote from State Farm, you can't get that from a broker. You need to get that from a State Farm agent. So if you have insurance companies you've heard of, or like, hey, maybe your parents are with AAA and you're like, I want a AAA quote. Cool. Call 2 or 3 brokers and call 2 or 3 captive agents from companies you've heard of that you like. Maybe you're like, hey, Allstate, State Farm, I like them. Cool. Call them too. Add them to that list, right? At the end of the day, you're making 5 or 6 phone calls. You're talking to a few specific people, and I recommend asking them a few specific things, right? You want to ask, hey, am I going to work with just you, or do you have a whole team that I work with? Right? Like in my office, I've got 6 other agents. Sometimes I'll pass off certain things to them, but at the end of the day, I'm going to be the one calling them with their quotes or their rates. I want to talk to you and have that personal relationship. I might have someone else do some of the work. I usually do a lot of it myself, right? That sort of situation. Or is it, hey, I'm talking to you and your assistant's going to call me. Nothing wrong with that, but just setting expectations. What do you prefer do you want to work with just one person? Do you want to work with, is it okay working with a company, right? If you call Geico or Progressive and get a direct quote from them, you might work with 30 different people over the years that you're with them. So what do you care about? Those are things you can ask, right? And then note some things. What sort of vibe does the person give you, right? Do you connect with them? Do you enjoy them? Do you feel like they're understanding you and you're understanding them? Was it awkward or weird, or did it feel like they were being difficult or didn't want to work with you, right? Like you want to work with someone that you vibe with and that you like. The next thing I pay attention to is, does the person do what they're going to say? If they say, I'm going to email you within 2 business days, did they do that? They say, I'm going to get back to you with a text by the end of the day, letting you know where I'm at, if I finished your quote or not. Did they text me back, right? Like, what is the expectations that they're giving you, and are they following through on that? And then I always think it's important, do they answer the phone? Dude, I have some people that call me and they're like, I've been trying to get a hold of my agent for 3 weeks to add a car. I can't get a hold of them. They won't answer the phone, right? Like if you call a brokerage 2 or 3 times to get a quote and they never answer the phone and then they call you back, like, is that going to impact the relationship? Like, what do you want from an agent? Is it all about price, or does it matter about service? I have people come back to me, even though I'm more expensive than whatever company they found. And it's because Jacob answers his phone. And that's really important to me. So those are things to know while you're making those phone calls. And I think it's better to make 5 phone calls than to click one of those get a quote online buttons and get bombarded by 100 insurance agents for the next 6 months. You're in control when you make the phone calls. So next topic. Why do people overpay for insurance? Most people overpay because they didn't follow that first step. They didn't call multiple brokers and they didn't call a couple of captive agents. You never know when State Farm or AAA is going to be, or USA is going to be a silver bullet that's $100 cheaper than any other option you can find. So get a couple options, and people don't call multiple brokers. You're not going to like this, but insurance agents aren't going to like this, but here's some things that will impact your rate that you should review in your quotes. So when they call you back or email you, right, send you those quotes, I like to ask some extra questions. So are these quotes finalized? Did you already pull my driving record, right? Like what if you had a speeding ticket? Like if they didn't ask about that in the phone call and they give you, right, here's the rate. You call them back because it's good. And they're like, oh, it went up $40 a month. Well, why? Oh, you had the speeding ticket a year ago. Well, why didn't you pull that? Some agencies, we actually pay for copies of your driving records. So some agencies won't pull those until you're ready to bind, right? Because it makes sense. If you have an accident on your record, maybe you should share that, or they should ask for it, but depends on the agent. Every agent's a little different. So I usually say, ask them, is this quote finalized? What else do you need for me to make sure this rate is finished? Because I don't like to ask 4 pages of questions when I first call you, right? Like I don't want to be, what's the mileage? What's your college degree? Like I'm going to assume some normals. And then when I call you, hey, here's the rough estimate. Here's a few extra details we need to finalize the rate. We need your education status. We need to know if your kid's at school or at college or living with you and not in college, or right? Like some of those extra things that can be finalized later. So ask them, is this quote finalized? If so, what did they indicate for your mileage? What did they indicate for garaging discounts? What did they indicate for students away at school? Obviously, what about bundling discounts if you're quoting your home insurance too? We'll talk about that in another episode. Is the best option potentially splitting carriers if you're doing auto and home? I've had some situations where they want to be the same company, but it's like, hey, what if it's better to be with Travelers for your auto insurance and Progressive for your home insurance? I've had situations where that's hundreds of dollars cheaper than being with one company. Even though there's a bundle discount they're missing out on, sometimes some carriers just work out better that way. So are these quotes finalized? What other details do you need to finalize them? Did you get a hit on my credit-based insurance history score? Right? This is what I was talking about earlier. You're not going to like hearing this, but insurance does use data that's on your credit score to run your insurance rates. They usually read you a disclaimer. It's like, hey, there's a disclaimer that I have to read you, blah, blah, blah. It's basically saying, do you authorize me to use your name and date of birth to pull your insurance history report? It depending on the carrier, some carriers it'll actually pull up on a soft pull, but those are, it's kind of like when you get a mailer in the mail and they're saying you're pre-approved for a credit card, right? It's that sort of hit. It's not going to make your credit go down. If it does pull, and I'm probably scaring people by saying this because it's not fully true, right? It's a different type of thing entirely than your credit. Anyways, talk to the agent about it. But it's important that they got a hit on that, which is why the previous address is needed, because 9 times out of 10, that will make your insurance cheaper. So just ask the agent you're going to quote from, did you get a hit on my credit-based insurance? If so, sometimes if you can give your social security number, you don't have to do it. They can pull that manually if it didn't get a hit off your name and driver's license number and address or previous address, and that could make your rate cheaper. So are the quotes finalized? Did you get a hit on my credit-based insurance score or insurance history report? How do these coverages match my current coverage? So one of the reasons why I like getting a copy of your declarations page, sometimes you can email that to the agent along with the quotes. Like, can I just email you a copy of my policy? They can make sure it matches up. And they should tell you, here's the differences, right? Like, hey, I matched your 100, 300 limits. I couldn't get the best option I had that matched your $500 deductible was more expensive. But if you're willing to do a $1,000 deductible, this one carrier is $50 a month cheaper. Okay, well, is it worth $600 a year to have a $500 higher deductible? Maybe, right? You can make that decision at that point. So do the coverages match? And if not, how do they differ? So I can make an educated decision when I'm buying insurance. So hopefully that's helpful, right? Did they quote different? Like maybe it's cheaper, but they quoted you state minimum liability limits. Well, if you own a home and you got a teenager, $30,000 of medical liability might not be enough, right? Maybe you want to keep the $100,000 limit that you had before. So that's something to ask about. Do the coverages match up? Before getting next into the next secrets of good insurance rates, are you confident that you have the coverage you need, right? I just talked about that liability. On a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you that you have the right coverage on your auto insurance? When's the last time you reviewed it, right? Let me know in the comments how confident you are that you have the right auto insurance coverage. For me, I will say my confidence is 10. So that'd be my confidence 10 because I'm an insurance agent and I do this all day, every day, and I have for 7.5 years. So I'm confident that my coverage is exactly what I need as a homeowner. Don't have any kids yet, right? Like I've got all those bases covered and I've talked about that with myself, well, with the owner of my agency when I first was doing this. Anyways, how confident are you? Let me know in the comments how confident you are on a scale of 1 to 10 that you got the right coverage that you need. Next, secrets for good insurance rates. Consider tweaks that can improve your rates. This is where a local agent or local broker or even a captive agent, having someone local is generally better because someone that works in 50 states might not know your state as well, right? Like some carriers in Utah give massive discounts for doing a $2,000 deductible instead of a more traditional $1,000 deductible. Okay, for a lot of people, that isn't worth it. But if you can afford a $2,000 deductible for your car instead of $1,000, and it saves you $800 a year, maybe that's worth it, right? I have some carriers where going from $1,000 to $2,000 deductible only changes the rate like $10. It's like, okay, well, that's obviously not worth it. $10 a year, it's not worth it, but $1,000 a year, maybe that's worth it. I've had situations where changing someone from a $1,000 deductible to a $2,000 deductible with specific carriers saves them $2,000 a year. I'm like, well, now if you don't have an accident, you've made up more than the difference to pay the deductible. So ask about specific tweaks that maybe could improve your rates. Another example is, right, if you have older cars. One of my carriers I write for in Utah, if you have a car that's 20 years old or older and you do liability only, which usually you want in older cars, it's just massively different, right? It's like, hey, by the way, if you tweak this one thing, choose liability on this older truck you have, which maybe you still want full coverage, but if you consider it, this other company's way cheaper. Where with full coverage, this carrier's cheaper. That sometimes happens, right? Changing an older car from full coverage to liability might make an insurance carrier cheaper. Another thing to ask about is, are you about to have a new driver, right? I've had some people where I do quotes to them and I'm like, hey, this carrier is $1,000 a year cheaper than your current company. And then they tell me then, hey, I actually have a 15-year-old that's going to turn 16 soon. I'm like, oh, wait, you have a 16-year-old? Okay, tell me about gender, age. Okay, they turn 16 in August, blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, when you add your teenager, this company's more expensive. It's not worth switching for only a couple of months, lose the benefits of longevity with your previous carrier to have to go back right in 2 or 3 months when that teenager rolls around because it's cheaper with that company. It's better stick with the $80, $1,000 a year, $80 a month, more expensive with the current company, because once you have that teenager in a couple of months, it's going to be cheaper. So talk to the agent about potential changes that you're going to experience in the future, because it might not be worth switching if something significant is going to happen. Like, hey, I'm about to buy a new car. I'm going to trade out my 2001 Toyota Corolla I've had for 20 years because now I make more money and I'm going to buy a new Jeep, 2026 Jeep Wrangler. Woohoo. Nothing wrong with Jeep Wranglers, but they're more expensive to insure, and that might change the carriers, right? It might be better to stay with the current carrier. So hopefully that makes sense. Changes that are going to happen. So tweaks. What about different deductibles? What about changing an older car to liability only? What about changes I'm going to make, like getting a new teenager or becoming an empty nester? Maybe your last teenager is about to move out. And it's like, oh, when you become an empty nester, I actually recently did this for my parents. My parents became empty nesters recently. I found an option with a different carrier than they've been with for the last 8 years. And it was $1,000 cheaper than the company after we got rid of the teenager. We removed it. It's like, oh, it's this rate. Hey, if you switch companies, it's cheaper. Where back when they had the last younger driver, it wasn't better to switch. But they're going to be an empty nester. They're never not going to be an empty nester after this. So anyways, I'm talking fast because I'm excited. Hopefully that makes sense, right? Is ask the agent, hey, what little tweaks, right, might make my rates better? Higher deductible, we've talked about that. Do I need optional coverages? So a really common coverage that people want in Utah is glass, right? There's lots of construction going on. People get their windshields broken. So if you have a $500 or $1,000 deductible, okay, well, what if your windshield only costs $800? Okay, is it really worth making a glass claim? I don't know. So some companies offer special $0 glass deductibles or $200 glass deductibles. Okay, for some cars, it's really cheap, right? I've had some cars where it's like, oh, that's $3 a month. Okay, that's like $40 a year. Totally worth it. If you break your windshield in 3 or 4 years, worth it. But I've had some cars, especially Teslas, where it's way expensive. I had a Tesla the other day that was like $700 a year to have the glass deductible at 0 instead of $1,000. Maybe that's worth it, right? Because for some Teslas, the glass is over $2,000 for some of these, Model X's and then the Model S's with all the special technology. So it might be better to have it. But ask the question so you can make that decision. Is it worth me paying this extra $700? Oh, it's only a $10 difference? Okay, I'd rather keep that coverage. What about optional coverages? We've already talked about a few of those. Things that you should potentially add or remove for Utah. Do I need full coverage? So this is a very common question that I think is worth considering when you're shopping your insurance. Here's my rule of thumb. If your car is worth less than $10,000 and you can afford to replace it, like you have enough cash saved to replace it, or if it's an extra car you can live without, right? Like let's say it's you and your spouse and you have one teenager and you've got 4 cars. Okay, well, if you lose one of the cars, you still have 3 cars. You're still fine. You don't need to replace that car. Okay, it's worth less than $10,000. I don't need to replace it. Or hey, maybe you only have 3 and 3. Okay, well, I have $30,000 saved in my bank account for replacing this car when it dies. Okay, well, maybe you don't need full coverage on that car anymore. How much does that save you to go from full coverage to liability? If it saves you $20 a month, okay, maybe it's not worth it. But if it saves you $900 a year, $1,000 a year, maybe it's worth it, right? That's a great question to ask that could potentially save you on your insurance while helping you make the decision, and you're empowered to decide what you want and what you're paying for. So hopefully that makes sense, right? Rule of thumb, less than $10,000 value. Can you afford to replace the car? And do you need to replace that car? Those are the 2 questions that I think are really, really worth asking in if you should keep full coverage on an older car. I found, not this is super important, but with trucks specifically, older trucks, doesn't make a difference, right? Trucks are like tanks. It's like, oh yeah, it's $20. But if you have like a really, really old commuter car, it might be more significant. Another reason why that might make difference is because of teenagers. Like I said, I had a situation the other day where someone had 4 new cars. They were all within 3 years old and they had 2 teenagers. And I'm like, hey, just to be silly, what if you bought a 30-year-old junker car just to have it? Your teenagers don't even have to drive it. I threw like a 1998 like Pontiac Bonneville, just something that I had the VIN number for. And I'm like, hey, guess what? If we add this old 27-year-old car, whatever that is, to your policy, liability only, for some reason it lowers your rate $1,000 a year. Well, why? Oh, well, you've got 2 teenagers and all your cars are $80,000 plus, right? You have like an Escalade, you have a Lamborghini Huracan. Obviously, your kids aren't driving the Lamborghini. You've got I think it was like a Jeep Gladiator, here and the other, right? But basically, it was 4 new high value vehicles, and it's like, well, there's a higher risk with teenagers that are driving those cars, right? Because obviously they're going to drive them if they've got driver's licenses. So if you buy an old car, even if they don't drive it, it makes your insurance $1,000 a year cheaper. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen to everyone, but these are questions worth asking your insurance agent or the guy you're getting quotes from. If they have a really good price, it's like, hey, how can we tweak this? What would happen if I bought an old car for my teenager to drive? Because I've only got new cars. Anyways, hopefully that makes sense. So do you need full coverage on that car, or do you need to add, maybe potentially buy a car, an old junker car that can make your rate cheaper? And that's not very common, that whole rate. That's a weird situation, but this is an example of things that your agent should be thinking about that are worth asking your agent about. Roadside assistance. Do I need roadside? I had someone the other day get non-renewed because they had like 15 roadside. It wasn't 15, it was like 11. But either way, it's a lot, right? If they had so many roadside assistance claims in history, insurance companies will penalize you for using your roadside assistance. There's a better way. Dude, go get AAA. AAA is great. Dude, AAA is so cool. They will even give you roadside assistance in a car that isn't yours. Like you're driving with one of your friends to go camping on a weekend and their car breaks down. If you have AAA, they will come and tow your friend's car just because you were in the car when it broke down. Like AAA is crazy. I think they do like 2 tows per vehicle you have plus like 2 revolving. Like check their website for that. I'm not sponsored by AAA. Like AAA sponsor me. But I think it's great because you're avoiding putting claims on your auto insurance that could impact your rates. Sure, some carriers won't charge you or rate you extra for using your roadside. But what if you need to switch insurance companies down the line? Insurance companies look back 5 years on your claims history. And what if Progressive is the best rate? Oh, well, now they're not because they actually account for those 5 roadside assistance claims you had. Oh, those 3 roadside, they count negatively against you with Geico. Right? And I'm not saying for sure they do, right? I'm just giving you examples. So if you regularly use roadside, I would say get a AAA membership and take it off your auto insurance. Oftentimes it'll be cheaper, especially if you have a lot of cars. Like if you have 1 or 2 cars, okay, you're paying $40 a year for roadside assistance. AAA membership's more expensive than that. If you've got 8 cars and 4 teenagers, right? 6 people, 6 to 8 cars and drivers, okay, AAA is probably cheaper at that point than having roadside assistance being paid for on every single one of your vehicles. Does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense, right? Roadside might not be necessary, but if you used it once in the last 5 or 6 years, maybe it is cheaper to keep it on just 1 car, right? Like with my insurance, my wife and I, we each have 1 car. So 2 cars, 2 drivers. We both have roadside assistance on our cars. I've used it once. I got stuck in the snow in a really bad snowstorm when I was trying to drive to work before the roads have been plowed. Really dumb idea a couple of years back, but got stuck and someone came out and got me out of the snow. Probably shouldn't admit to that. Someone's gonna make fun of me for that. You got stuck in a Tesla in snow. Yeah. The weight, it wasn't good. So that's hopefully a helpful tip or hint for you. And I've actually seen people get dropped by their insurance company for having too many roadside and glass claims. People just don't realize it. So it's good to talk to your agent as you claims. Like, hey, is this going to impact me negatively? And the answer is yes. There's always an insurance company that will impact you negatively or a limit. So that's that. Another great thing, shout out, this is just coming to my mind. I'm a really big fan of Royalty Auto Glass. If you replace your windshield with them, they might not still be doing this, but at least for a while, they were doing 2 or 3 free rock chips on that windshield while you owned it. And so it's like, hey, why not? I mean, I'll have to do a podcast with the owner at some point and ask them what they're doing right now. But it's like, hey, if you can get a sort of deal where when you replace your windshield, they'll pay for rock chips, so you don't have to worry about making an insurance claim. Anything to keep it off your record can only benefit you. Or here's a weird situation. I had someone that they were, they become very, very wealthy. They were buying a very expensive home and some very expensive automobiles. We had to go to high luxury insurance companies to insure, right? You're talking $5-6 million house, right? You're talking $2-3 million values of automobiles, right? This isn't just your normal, like I'm buying a Prius to commute, right? High value exotic cars and homes. We had to go to specialty carriers. And one of them didn't want to insure him because he'd used 2 rock chip claims in the last 5 years. They're like, nope, that's too high of a risk for this. We don't want people that are making claims for nilly-willy things. Like, who would have expected that 3 years earlier when he's making rock chip claims that it was going to make it more expensive for his home insurance because we had to go with a different insurance company? Wild, right? That's not normal, but anyways, hopefully that gives you some of the point. There's always an insurance company that might rate you for rock chip or roadside claims. So do you need it? Are there other ways to get it, like through AAA? Or maybe paying cash for rock chips, right? I mean, I know they're expensive, $70-$80, but is that cheaper than paying for rock chip coverage A lot of companies include it with comprehensive though. So anyways, neither here or there. Cool. Last one I want to talk about is rental reimbursement. Do you need that on your cars that are full coverage, right? If you've got 4 cars with only 3 drivers, if you lose one in a car accident while it's being repaired, you still have 3 cars. You don't need rental reimbursement. You don't need loss of use coverage because you still got a car you can drive. Okay, but if you only have 2 cars with 3 drivers and you're juggling cars, losing a car is going to be severely expensive because you're going to have to rent a car, right? So adding rental reimbursement is worth it. But a lot of people just have it because, oh, well, my parents had it. I've just always had it. Ask your agent if you need it, right? If you don't need it, that might save you hundreds of dollars a year by removing loss of use or rental reimbursement from 4 or 5 vehicles or however many you have on your policy. Couple caveats to that, right? If you have a car that you're regularly driving out of state, okay, it might make sense, right? If you're going to go on a month-long vacation to California and drive all around, maybe you can manually call your agent, add roadside and loss of use to that one vehicle, because if it breaks down somewhere, you'll want a temporary car to continue your trip. But you don't have to have it on 24/7, 365 days a year. Do it for that one special event. Your agent won't love it, but who cares? You're allowed to do it. It's your policy. So hopefully that makes sense. Last couple of things I want to talk about. Wow, this is going longer than I expected, but that's because I just get so excited and I keep on thinking of ways that might help you guys. Full coverage. A lot of people don't understand what full coverage is. So I just want to quickly explain this because it will help when you're talking with your agents doing quotes. I have people call me and they're like, I need full coverage on this old car because my teenager's going to drive it. I want to make sure my teenager's protected. Full coverage has nothing to do with your teenager's medical bills. Full coverage versus liability matters if the car is covered, right? Liability just means if you hit someone, you're going to pay for their medical bills and their property damage up to your policy limits. With full coverage, you add a deductible to cover your car as well. So it might be a $500 deductible, and then insurance will pay the rest of the cost of repairing your vehicle. Okay, notice how none of that has to do with anything with medical. Nothing to do with medical. Medical is based on either your uninsured and underinsured motorist protection. If someone hits you that doesn't have insurance, then it can pay extra for recovering that. Or medical PIP coverage, right? That's going to pay for your medical bills. Utah legally requires you to have $3,000 of PIP per person, regardless of fault. So whether you're at fault, you hit someone, or someone hits you, your policy has to pay the first $3,000 of medical bills. After that, if you want your child to be protected, you would need to go to your private health insurance. Auto insurance doesn't cover it. Now, you can increase the amount of coverage. Some companies will go up to 10,000 or 3,000, 5,000, 8,000, 10,000. A few companies will go up to 25,000 medical. You'll pay extra for it. But I think it's important to have a conversation with your health insurance. What's your deductible for getting health insurance care? Then you can make an educated decision on your auto insurance. Hey, I know 3,000 is a legal requirement. Maybe I want 10,000 because that'll cover the difference between my health insurance deductible, right? So if you're concerned about your teenager being covered and their medical liability, make sure you have good health insurance and you can increase your medical PIP coverage on your auto insurance to bridge that gap. But full coverage on the car will not help with medical bills. Hopefully that makes sense. If not, give me a call, send me an email. My email will be in the episode description. I'm happy to answer questions. I talk to people all the time, even in Idaho or Arizona, because I'm glad to help even though I'm not licensed in those states. So that's that. Okay, next segment. You found a better rate. How do you talk to your current agent? I think this is very important, especially if you're with a broker. Call your current agent and just tell them, hey, I found a better rate. Here's the coverages, right? I've already asked these questions of the company. Get a copy of the quote and send it to your current agent. I love when people do that. They're like, hey, I got a quote that's better. Can you help me evaluate it, right? Like, obviously, I gave you some of the questions you can ask the insurance agent to make sure those quotes are good. But guess who's really incentivized to make sure that that quote is really good or really better than your current policy? Your current agent. Of course, they want to save the business. They'll look at it and they'll tell you exactly what's wrong. Oh, hey, my policy has 10K PIP, that medical coverage that you wanted for your teenager. The new quote was only 3,000. Sweet, you can go back to that agent and say, hey, I need this and I need this to match my current policy. Hey, you have $250,000 of medical liability. This agent gave you a quote that's only $50,000 of medical liability. You have 5 times as much coverage with my policy. Call that other guy back and get a requote, right? Tell them to quote it at the higher limits. They're going to tell you exactly what's wrong with it because they want to keep your business. And if it isn't better, I've had situations where people are like, oh, I found a cheaper quote. And then I'm like, you're missing this coverage and this coverage. You quoted your 2025, Mazda CX-30 with liability only. Of course it's cheaper. Mine's full coverage for your car and you need full coverage because you have a loan on it. Oh crap, I didn't realize, right? Like, I don't expect you to be an expert when you're coming quotes, but I'm going to help you make sure that it's right. So your current agent can help you do that to contrast the quotes that you've gotten with your new agent. I've actually done that for people. People will move to another state. They'll be, hey, I got quotes. I just want to make sure they're still good compared to what I had with you. Happy to evaluate that for people. I want to help people. And I know eventually it'll come out. I have people that I've shopped quotes for 5 years, still haven't got them as client, but they have assurance from me as a caring agent that their policy somewhere else is good. And I love doing that. I don't know why. It's just like, I don't care. I'm not getting paid for this. Like eventually I will. Eventually, your son's going to move from Arizona to Utah and I'm going to get a quote with them and it'll be great. But yeah. So ask your current agent, right? Before you switch carriers, give them a call, tell them you got a better rate, send them a copy of the quote, say, hey, is this still good coverage? They'll help you find every loophole possible. And ask your current agent if they can rerun quotes. I've had situations where people are like, to be specific, Bear River Mutual. They're like, hey, Bear River's rates have gone up. I found a better carrier. And I've had situations where I'm able to go to my underwriter and say, hey, here's a situation. And we're able to rerun their insurance history report, maybe there's a claim that's about to fall off and they're willing to play ball a little bit and write off. And other companies will do that occasionally too. They're not, anyways, it's a whole thing. But maybe there's ways that they can lower your rates, right? And why not let them take the opportunity? Sometimes the answer is no. I've told people, sorry, I can't. There's nothing I can do. I've tried. But at least you know that you are getting the best rate possible at that point, right? This is all about getting you the best price at the coverage you want. So last segment I want to talk about is shopping frequency and loyalty. Agents are going to hate this one. Every insurance agent is going to be in the comment, Jacob, boo, you suck. Don't tell people to shop their rates. I tell people to shop their rates every year. I have people that call me every year. They're like, hey, my renewal's coming up. I'm going to check with 2 or 3 other agents. Let me know if there's requotes. Happy to do it. But call, right? I'm happy to do it. I love doing that. Like, make me be competitive. Make us be competitive with each other to make sure you're getting the best rate. Some reasons why it might not be good to switch. And I've told people this. I've had people that it's like, hey, you've been with this company for 15 years. You should stay with them, right? Like, is it worth switching for $10 a month to lose all this longevity, right? Like, they're usually more likely to be able to be pliable in the future if you have an accident or something like that. Maybe there's some sort of special benefits you're getting that if you left and then came back in 6 months, you wouldn't get anymore. So sometimes it's not worth switching for just a couple of changes. I remember this situation. This guy, I had him with Progressive. He's like, I got a quote with Geico. It's 83 cents a month cheaper, and I'm going to go for it. This was a couple of years ago. I'm just like, you're going to leave me for 83 cents a month? Like, are you kidding me? Like, dude, let me pay $6. I mean, technically you're not legally allowed to, right? Obviously I wouldn't do that, but it's like for $6, it's not worth changing insurance companies. At least in my opinion, it's not worth the hassle and signing and all the things that can go wrong. But right. An example of that, Bear River Mutual, I've mentioned a few times, they have a 2% loyalty discount every single year. So if you've been with them for 20 years, you have a 40% loyalty discount or claims-free discount, they call that. Maybe it's not worth switching for $10 because if something goes weird with that company, they have a new customer discount that goes away after 6 months or a year. Your rate goes up slightly and you're like, oh, well, I'll just go back to Bear River. Oh, crap. I lost a 40% claims-free discount. And I mean, Bear River has a special plan where you can get some of that back right now, but that's new. Right. So ask your agent, are there special things I might be losing by leaving? Is it worth staying for a couple extra bucks? Because you might lose some sort of special benefit. Some carriers, after you've been with them for a while, like 5 years is a huge deal. Some companies will give you small claims forgiveness. Hey, if you have a little fender bender, it's $800, we're not going to count it against you. Another company might, but we're not going to rate you for that. That's a little benefit or perk of being with that company for a long time. And a lot of companies have little perks you might not know about if you don't ask your agent before you switch. So those perks are cool. But right, it depends. How much better is the other rate? If I'm saving $1,000, I'm willing to lose that perk. If I'm going to save $10 a month, maybe it's not worth it. So last thing I want to share, this is my personal opinion on what should trigger in your mind to do a requote, right? Go through this list, call 3 brokers, call 2 or 3 captive agents, go through this whole process again. If you get a new car, if you swap out a 30-year-old car for a brand new car, get requotes. If you are buying a home, maybe it's worth bundling, get requotes. If you have a new teenager or if you become an empty nester, get requotes. And I think those are really it. Those are the 4 big triggers. Buying and selling a car, buying a home, look at bundle discounts, teenager, new driver, or becoming an empty nester. And I suppose for Utah, right, if you have a kid coming home from a mission, that's kind of like getting a new driver. Those are the 5 most common situations that I'd say, hey, get a requote. Find a new agent, not even new agent. You can ask your current agent, right? Go through this process again, get 5 sets of quotes, find the best options for you. Hopefully that helps. So I shop insurance every day. Been doing it for 7.5 years, 25 plus insurance companies that I write for. Let me know what I missed. What secrets do you use for lowering your rates, making sure you have the right coverage? Drop all your extra things people overlook in the comments. I'll read all of them. Let me know if this was helpful. Hopefully this can help you find insurance rates. And obviously, I'm a Utah insurance agent. If you're looking for quotes and you're in Utah, give me a call. My information will be in the bio. Thanks.